broadcast was interrupted. Our technical team was able to resume the connection with our speaker just now, and we can continue our conversation. I'm reminding you, joining us online is Yurii Ihnat, spokesperson of the Air Force Command of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. So, Mr. Yurii, I hope you're hearing and seeing us, because we're seeing you. And it seems like we're hearing you too. So we can continue our conversation. I would like to ask you about the UAVs of the occupiers. Lately, within the last week, our society was agitated with their manufacturing capacities of the occupiers, notwithstanding all the sanctions used against the aggressor country. So what will be the response of Ukraine? Well, the question is very frequently asked today. Why haven't we seen them earlier? They were manufacturing Lancet drones for a long time, and they were using them against our air defense systems and our armor. So now they're developing this UAV of different types, FVP drones, the same that we know, and the Shaheds that we know about. So what's the difference whether they will be assembled in Iran or in Russia? If there is a connection between those countries, if they have arranged the manufacturing, and Iran may say that we are clean, we don't supply them to Russia, so please soften the sanctions against us, and something of that kind. So Russia will probably continue their cooperation with that country unless there will be certain changes in geopolitical arena in relation of those two countries. So we shouldn't expect something new. We're developing this sector of the unmanned aviation as well. Except for Mavics, there are other drones in the front lines that will be added to our defense and security forces. We will use more and more strike drones because, you see, they produce serious effect. But you've mentioned it correctly that we need, all in all, get prepared to the intensification of Russia's manufacturing of drones. So we have to use anti-drones systems. We will have to just banally down them or use the electronic countermeasures that may impact their operations. Unfortunately, we started developing the new electronic countermeasures system a little bit too late, but our defense and security complex is developing, and we have certain achievements in that direction, but we would like it to happen the soonest possible and to the biggest scale possible. Mr. Yurii, training of our pilots on F-16s, the decision was coordinated in all the levels with all of our international partners. So when is it about to start? Well, there was a number of decisions. First of all, that's the direction we're moving in, the decision taken by the Air Force, decision taken by the top-level government officials, by general staff of the Ministry of Defense. Then it was discussed with the partners in different Rammstein conferences about with different countries about the handover of the F-16s. Then we've seen a number of countries which were ready to join the coalition, the aviation coalition or jet fighter coalition, which included a number of countries that are ready to support us with the aircraft. So they don't conceal it that they will be able to hand over the aircraft to us. Then there was a decision taken by the White House, or rather a promise that they would not object when other countries would hand over the US manufactured, the Lockheed Martin manufactured F-16s to Ukraine. And yesterday, this night, the last night, we had the decision taken by the United States that they will support the training of our pilots in different countries of the world in all ways, and they will assist to the training of our pilots and all other related processes, because it's not only about the pilots, well, the process of the handover and other nuances related to that. So it's a very important step. Probably the summit in Vilnius became the, so to say, the propellant to this process. Everybody was expecting it, and yesterday the mass media was succumbing to the euphoria about something that has not yet happened. So yes, we hope that within a couple of weeks, just like Jake Sullivan said, maybe until the end of the summer, we will have our pilots set off for training on F-16s, and other groups of the young pilots will undergo the basic training, land training, with transition to training flights on the fighter jets and maybe lighter models of the fixed-wing aircraft. It will happen in a number of countries because the capacities for training of such big number of people are not available in only one country. So we see that the aviation coalition was created for a reason. Someone helps with the aircraft themselves, someone trains the maintenance team, someone trains the pilots, someone trains the tower teams, and on top of that, the armament is also important for those aerial platforms, because we will need it in different types, in serious, insignificant numbers, because the tasks are serious and we need it real bad. That were the news long expected by us. We have questions from the floor. Dear colleagues, please. Good afternoon, Mr. Yurii. Natalia Titinenko, Telegraph. My question is about the Sumy region. It was attacked recently again. What people say that the enemy acts quite bold. They're attacking from the air. What are we going to do in this regard? Maybe we will expand the evacuation area, or is it possible to cover the area with those capabilities that we have? Thank you. Well, let me check. Let me take a look at the Sumy region so I could answer you right away. For the time being, I see the UAVs in Kharkiv region. Well, what flies in the Sumy region is the enemy using the guided aviation bombs. It's good that they don't fly too deep in the territory of Ukraine. Those aviation bombs, they still disturb the areas along the front lines, as well as the Sumy region. They also are impacted or affected by the strike drones. The airfield Sesha is not so far from the border, and it's attacked by the enemy UAVs. So we started this UAV topic. It's a real problem because they inflict strikes in the night. Mobile teams try to work in the nights, but downing drones in the night is more difficult. So we should rather count on the surface-to-air missile systems that cope with those tasks in the conditions of the night time. So what should I say? We have to reinforce our defense capabilities. There is no other options. We keep talking about this, and people keep asking the same question: can we set up the air defense capabilities along the borders so that this question is removed from the agenda? Well, for the time being, it's impossible. Should it be possible, we would have done it way earlier. And this is why we switched to discussion of F-16s in place of the UAVs. Should we have a couple of wins of it, it will increase the percentage of the enemy's air targets downing, those who inflict terroristic attacks in our country, I mean in the territory of our country. And on top of that, it will be capable of impacting the activities of Russian aviation, which is stationed along our borders. So we can't wait for F-16s to come here, and meanwhile other countries take their efforts to support us with air defense systems. There are many statements, but everything is not happening within one day, and it's not relevant to criticize them because everybody helps us to the best of their capabilities. The West was not ready to such an intense escalation by Russia. They were not ready to such a war crime, to such a terrorism committed by Russia. This is why all the Western countries, along with the United States, they intensify the manufacturing of air defense systems, the rockets, and other types of armament. The world has seen that Russians have Kinzhal missiles, the ballistic missiles, and Kinzhals cannot be destroyed using F-16s. This is why we need such things as Patriot or SAMTs. So their manufacturing should be intensified to protect against such a powerful weapon. As to Ukraine, you see, when we were entering the war, we had nothing from the West. We had Javelin, Stingers incoming. Now we're at the Patriot stage, and now I would like to say that we're at the F-16 stage, but I don't want to black eye it. Still, we see as something Western comes in gradually. Well, let's put it this way. You see, we had NASAMS coming, we had one system, then two, then more, and the same thing was going on with the SAMT and with Patriots. So this is how it's going to evolve. We are only going to get stronger, and I'm deeply convinced that Russia will get weaker because the economy of the country that all the world turned away from, they cannot exist only on oil and gas that nobody in Europe wants to buy anymore. So we have to exhaust Russia not only in a military sense but also in economic, so that they cease the aggressive actions against our country. We have more questions on the floor. Yana Milchenko, Ukrinform. What's your opinion about the gossips that these days we may expect some powerful attack by the Russian Federation as a revenge for Crimean Bridge? Do you see anything happening in this regard? Do you have any information about that? Well, I don't have any information about that. Maybe special services who deal with it have some information about that, and should they have this information available, they are hardly to make it public. We may just assume that Russians have to prove something to their people, to demonstrate something to their people, the power of Russia, those factories that they demonstrate for their internal audience. I mean, the factories that manufacture the UAVs, and traditionally they can do it in the same way that they did it before. I don't want to give more details because I maybe assigned some quotations. Thank you, Mr. Yurii. Thank you for this broadcast. Thank you for your comments on all the events that are actual for all of us today. Thank you. Dear colleagues, I'm reminding you joining us was Yurii Ihnat, the spokesperson of the Air Force Commander of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and our next briefing is at 1400. Joining us will be Natalia Humanyuk, head of the United Coordinating Press Center of Security and Defense Forces of the South of Ukraine, and we will be talking about current situation in the South and the events unfolding in Crimea. So stay tuned, let's work together for victory and glory to Ukraine.